Good early afternoon. We are live. We are semi-live here on Tuesday, August 23rd. You've joined us on the Blue Plate Special. I'm Andy Andrews, and we're here at Wisdom Harbor Studios at the Wharf, home of the infamous escalator statues. We're glad to have you here with us today. Today's a very special day. We would love for you to click your notifications so that way that if we go live anytime and you have also clicked your notifications on your phone, then you'll be notified when we go live. And we'd also love for you to share today, all right? We'd welcome you whatever platform you're watching on, especially those watching on wisdomharbor.com. Like the shirt? The shirt is from Sand Dollar Lifestyles, the cornerstone of the Wharf, right down here. They have millions of shirts, and they are the clothing sponsor of the Blue Place. The podcast that came out this morning, I'm already hearing about it. It had Kevin Williams, Tammy Nance. It had...
let's see. It wasn't Tammy. It was Kevin Williams, David Wright, Dan Stone, and Jamie Futrell.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I gave you the wrong name.
That's all right. That's all right. We always enjoy mentioning Tammy Nance. She is our director of communication here in Wisdom Harbor, and she needs to talk to you about communicating. So, that podcast we're hearing so much about already because the Life Skills Project is now rolling into its second incarnation, and a lot of people are going into different life skills projects. There are new people adding on, and it's just a blast for the people that are doing that. We urge you to get involved, and you can go to Andy Andrews /skills, and you can see everything there is to see there. I'd like to welcome all the people watching today. My sister, Christy, Heather Olson. Glad it's a moderate temperature where you are in Utah. And we see that it's hot out in Washington State again. We're going to get right into this. This is Today in History, and there was a lot that happened on August 23rd. I mean, here we are, August 23rd, 2022. But man, August 23rd was a big date. Did you know that in 1305, on this date, William Wallace was executed? He was executed for treason by Edward the Mean. And you saw this on William Wallace looked a lot like Mel Gibson. And when they stretched him apart, he screamed freedom, and then his life and the movie ended. But it was on this date that he was executed. Then we can move from the 1300s, like nothing happened for 500 years. Nothing. And then in 1876, Annie Oakley got married. So, you know Annie Oakley. She married Frank Butler, who was a marksman that was with the traveling show, but Annie Oakley was so much better a shot than he was. When she was a kid, now, those of you who have hunted quail before in your life, these are not easy to hit with a shotgun. And Annie Oakley would hunt quail with a .22 rifle. And she would shoot them in the head while they were flying. Now, the .22 rifle has just a bare little lead projectile or projectile. It had a projectile and a projectile. So there was two of them, but the birds would flush, and she would shoot one in the head, and then that got so easy for her that she would turn around and then shoot. And then it got where she would turn around twice and then shoot, just like to challenge herself. But she was obviously an incredible shot. Annie Oakley, Little Sure Shot. That's what they called her. Okay, so then 1883 was the world's biggest ever explosion. This was Krakatoa in the Philippines. Krakatoa exploded, and it exploded with 13,000 times the force than the Hiroshima bomb. Can you imagine? 13,000 times Hiroshima when Krakatoa exploded. 36,000 people were killed by the eruption in the Philippines, in a pretty sparsely populated area in the Philippines. Okay, in 1939, now I want you to think about this. Germany and the Soviet Union, two traditional turds of history. I mean,
I was wondering what you were going to say.
well, I was, I had many choices there, but I think turds of history. I think that would be a good chapter in a history book. Yeah. But Germany and the Soviet Union in 1939 signed a non-aggression pact. Okay, so, Hitler is saying, no, we will not do anything. And Stalin is saying, no, we will not. You're our friend. Non-aggression pact. Okay, so just remember that. That's 1939. In 1942, in World War II, the last cavalry charge in history took place in Russia when the Italian Cavalleria charged Soviet infantry. This was the beginning of the idea that Italians were not brilliant military strategists. You're on a bunch of horses and you charge an infantry division. It did not end well for the Italians.
I wouldn't think so.
But thankfully, the Soviet Union had a non-aggression pact with Germany.
Yeah, so.
Also in 1942, 600, and this is on this date, August 23rd, 600 Luftwaffe planes bombed Stalingrad. 40,000 died. This non-aggression pact.
Wow.
So as Hitler, no, I'm not going to do anything. In 1942, they bombed Stalingrad. 40,000 people died. And to level out that non-aggression pact, the next year, on the 50th day of the Battle of Kursk, the largest tank battle in history ended with Russia's defeat of Germany, that they were non-aggressing, and over 10,000 tanks took part in this battle, and 250,000 people died.
Wow, that's a big battle.
Yeah, that's not much aggression. Stalin said, I'll call your 40,000 and I'll raise you 250,000. Yeah, boy, there's the turds of history. Germany and the Soviets. 1973. Now we can just lighten up a little bit from the death toll of Germany and Russia. We can lighten up and go for a botched bank robbery. All right? On August 23rd, 1973, I was in the 8th grade, or about to go into the 9th grade. And a botched bank robbery in Stockholm, Sweden, resulted in a hostage situation. And over the course of a 6-day standoff, the captives formed a bond with their captor. And that is where we have the term the Stockholm Syndrome, where somebody that's been kidnapped or somebody that has been held hostage is now identifying more with their captor than they are with the people trying to rescue them. And so the Stockholm Syndrome. 1973. Okay. On August 23rd, 1989, former baseball player and manager Pete Rose was banned from the sport after an investigation determined that he had bet on games and thereby became ineligible for the Baseball Hall of Fame. He later admitted to gambling on baseball, and I actually have a baseball over in my cabinet that Pete Rose signed for me, and it says, "I'm sorry I bet on baseball." About that. But he didn't sign it on August 23rd, so maybe I shouldn't mention that.
Yeah, maybe not. We'll cut it.
Okay, yeah, okay. All right. On August 23rd, 1996, long before anybody ever heard of this guy, a guy issued a message entitled "A Declaration of War Against the Americans." You know who was it? You know who it was that did that?
Who was it?
Osama bin Laden.
Yep, a little bit before we knew who he was.
Yeah, that was before I knew who it was. And I'm sure there were people that said, okay, some guys declared war on us. Big deal. And it turned out to be a big deal. Sheesh. On August 23rd, 2005, Hurricane Katrina formed over the Bahamas and later became a Category 5 hurricane. You know, that obviously impacted New Orleans worse than anywhere else. But here, we're like 2 hours away, a 2-hour drive away from New Orleans. And we had already experienced Hurricane Ivan. And so Ivan took half the trees in our yard. And then with Katrina, we had like 75, 80 mile an hour winds for a long time. And it just like, it was like a salt air blow dryer that killed the rest of the trees.
Wow.
And so that's when we literally started over in our yard that was when the boys had said, hey, if we're going to plant trees, let's plant trees that do something. And so we planted grapefruit trees and orange trees, and we planted palm trees where we wanted them. And so we've got palm trees that are perfectly set apart. That's the volleyball court. You know, we can, but that's just trying to make some lemonade out of lemons there. But it was a Cat 5 hurricane, which, you know, we have a great friend named Katrina. And then we have a great friend named Rita. And Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane Rita came like back to back. So it's like, wow. Okay. Is that the last thing on our list?
That was the last thing.
Okay, so the question is, what's going to happen today? What happens today? What are you going to make happen today? You know, I'm thinking, I just got off a call with a bunch of business guys that are talking about focus. And I think that's the word for today. That's already what I'm focusing on, the word focus. And it occurs to me that the people, great achievers focus, but the best have a different level of focus. Now, I don't know if you can focus more than being totally focused on something, but I think that the difference between great and best is the difference of time that you're able to maintain your focus. Focus is a struggle for me. I mean, that sounds like a poem. Focus is a struggle for me because of my ungodly ADD. But, I tend to think that ADD is not necessarily a curse as much as it is a blessing. I choose to see it that way. That's my perspective on ADD. I've looked at the number of high achievers who have ADD. I've looked at how they manage to deal with it. And so ADD is seen as a focus inhibitor. But Adam, our youngest son, when he was diagnosed with ADD, we noticed, well, he can't, he has a hard time focusing in the classroom. He has a hard time focusing when he's reading. He has a hard time focusing on tying both shoes. That was my big joke about Adam. When somebody would say, well, how does ADD manifest itself? I would say, okay, it's like this. Hey, Adam, tie your shoes. And then a couple of minutes later, hey, buddy, tie your shoes. Then a few minutes later, hey, Adam, come here. Now, tie your shoes right now. And then as he's walking away, Adam, both shoes. But, we would say, okay, well, he has a hard time focusing on this and that. But we noticed he didn't have a hard time focusing on fishing. I mean, he didn't have a hard time focusing on tying intricate knots. He didn't have a hard time focusing on putting everything in his tackle box exactly like, facing the same way, categorized according to color and size. I mean, he didn't have a hard time focusing on that. And so I find on this date, August 23rd, 2022, I think the discovery has been made that people with ADD have a greater ability to focus on something they're passionate about to the exclusion of all this other stuff that can get in your way. I mean, I'm as ADD as they come, but I'm passionate about thinking to the bottom of the pool, and I can stay on that until I get there. Adam is passionate about fishing, and so I think, when you look at the list of the people who are ADD, who are great achievers, they haven't divided their focus into a bunch of different areas. They've been passionate about one thing, and they've hung in there with it and made it happen and they've developed skills to go with their passion or their gift that have been seen as very different by other people. And so I just want to encourage you parents who you have some teacher saying he doesn't pay attention, or you got some doctor saying, okay, this or that. Yeah, I had a kid say to me not too long ago, he said, yeah, I've got ADD and so I'm weird. And I said, dude, you're not weird. You're a limited edition. You're unique. You're one of a kind. You're not weird. You're a limited edition. Makes you more valuable. So sometimes we can't focus on the periphery things, and we will focus so hard on something else that it seems like we can't focus because to other people, which is why well, this morning I forgot my glasses at home, and I told Matt, I said, hey, we got to delay doing this blue plate. I've got to run home. I've got to get my glasses before we can do this. And so I drove back toward the house, and then I thought, I'm going to ask Polly to meet me with them. And so I said, hey, I left my glasses at home, and I got to get them. And she said, yeah, you left them where you were reading last night. And I said, oh, okay. I said, can you meet me at the Gulf, in the Gulf parking lot? And so she did. And the first thing she did when she drove up, I was standing outside my truck. And the first thing she did when she drove up was she handed me my glasses and the book I'd been reading. She said, I thought you might want a book. And I said, oh, great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And so I put them over here on the hood. And I said, so you okay? Everything good? All right. Okay. Well, I'll see you later. Kiss me goodbye. And so I kissed her, and I said, see you later. And I started back to the car, and she goes, Andy. I said, hey. She goes, oh yeah, okay, there's my glasses on the hood of the car. I gotta turn around and go get my glasses. But I've driven past my driveway with everybody in the car, and I'm just thinking about one thing. I'm thinking about one thing. And like I've looked up and just noticed it was quiet in the car. And everybody's looking at me. And I said, what are y'all doing? They said, we're just seeing how far you're going to drive down River Road before you realize you're past the driveway. Oh, I'm going to pass the driveway again? I'm sorry. I was thinking about, something other than driving, which is what I was doing. Everybody has gotten off the interstate to get gas and then gotten back on the interstate and realized they got on the wrong way and had to go to the next exit and turn around. I have gotten off, gotten gas, and then gotten back on the wrong way and driven 70 miles before I realized it. It's ADD, but it's the ability to focus deeply. So, little rambling rant about August 23rd, this day in history, and the combination of focus and the benefits of ADD. We'll see you Thursday. Bye-bye.